Hey developers, today we are creating a Pokémon app using Tailwind CSS and React with hooks. So this tutorial, we are deep diving into React hooks. We're gonna use useMemo, we're gonna use useState, and we're just gonna see how it all works together from the perspective as a Vue developer or someone that hasn't used React in the past. So this tutorial is perfect if you are brand new to React or if you are in the Vue ecosystem and you're looking to use React as well. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. Oh yeah, and if you are new, I'm actually doing several videos in a series. Earlier this week, I actually did one using Vue.js, using this exact same app. So we created a Pokémon app there. So now we're gonna create another Pokémon app here, the exact same one, but using React instead of Vue. And then in a future video, we'll do some comparisons between them and see what the differences are. Hey, and if you guys like these type of videos, make sure you like and comment below. And also, I am a big fan of Vue.js. If you want to learn about more about Vue.js, JavaScript frameworks, I put a link in the description below to my mailing list. If you sign up for it, you can get a free Vue.js cheat sheet and lots of great information, and then you'll get updated every time I release a video. So yeah, so make sure you click on there below and get a free cheat sheet. So let's just jump on into it. Okay, so here is the app that we're creating today. We are connecting to a third-party API, this Pokémon API, which I'll show you guys in a moment. And we're using Tailwind CSS in the front end. You can just type in here whatever you're looking for. Let's say like Bulbasaur, so any type of Pokemon. Then you click on it and it brings up a card and some information about it, and it pulls some pictures up. And then this is all being retrieved from this third-party API. So it's really simple, but it does have some subtleties when you create the app. And we'll jump into that. So first, we do need to get a React app up and running, and then after that we'll use Tailwind CSS to make it easier to style everything and make those cards. I'm going to open a VS Code, and we're going to need to have Node installed. So if you don't already have it, make sure you install Node, and then we'll need to create our app. So once you have Node installed, you can do npx create React app, or if you're using Yarn, you can use Yarn as well. And then the name of it, we're going to call it React. Well, we'll call it Pokémon React. And then you do -- use -npm since I'm using npm, otherwise we use Yarn. So we'll just hit enter here, and it will go ahead and install for us. And this will just take a moment. All right, so we went ahead and installed everything, but we got a few more things to install. So we'll need to install the React router as well as the Tailwind CSS. First, I'll need to change directories into the folder. And then I will copy and paste the instructions for Tailwind CSS. And this will install Tailwind CSS. So first thing you need to do is install a few dependencies. All right, so now we need to install Krakow is what it recommends that you install. So I'm just going to copy and paste that as well. Okay, and then it says you should add in these scripts for start, build, and test inside our folder. So let's go ahead and open up our folder. This will just take a moment. Okay, so I have it open up. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the package.json file and change the build scripts. So I'm going to add the ones in that they recommend, and I'm gonna get rid of the duplicates, so I don't need start, build, or test. All right, and then it says you should add in this Krakow config file. So we'll have to add this Krakow config file to here. So do Krakow config.js, and I'm just going to copy and paste it in there. And then we need to create our own Tailwind init file, so we'll run that. So this is just everything we need to do to get Tailwind up and running. So cool, it did that for us. Now we need to set the Tailwind config to add in the purge file. So we'll just copy and paste this in here, delete the other one, and then we need to make sure we have this inside our index.css file. Make sure you do every one of these steps or it will not work. So if we have index.css, we have a lot of CSS in here. So I'm going to go back up to the top and delete everything and make sure that's all in there. And it should be imported inside the source index.js file, and it is. So if I did this right, it should work. Also, one thing I like to do is I like to just to reload the window because I do have an IntelliSense extension for CSS Tailwind that I like to use. So I'll just make sure it works. So I'm going to run. First, I'm going to make sure I'm using version 14 of I use NVM, which is our Node version manager. That's another part of installing Node. And I'm just going to do npm start to see if this works. All right, so I'll open up localhost 3000. Cool, so it looks like it's working. So now I should be able to start doing some cleanup here. So first, I don't really care about everything inside here. Cool, so here's hello world. And we can see here if I add in a class name, I don't know, text to Excel. I save it. Cool, so it looks like Tailwind's working. I have it all working here. One thing I forgot, so we'll need to install the React router DOM. So to do that, I'm going to just do an npm install React router DOM. And by the way, if you are confused anywhere through this tutorial, make sure you pause it. And also I'll leave links down below so you can kind of jump in between different sections if you want to, with different timestamps, so you can kind of jump through if you want a little bit more information. All right, so we should have everything installed. Let's see, I think the first thing we need to do is see if we can get routes working. So first, I want to create a new about route. So I'm going to create a new file. Well, we'll create a new component first. We'll do RFC here. So this is a simple React router, and I'm going to put hello world. And by the way, that was a snippet that I used to bring this up. It's, you just look up React snippets. They have one for that. But I want to be able to get to this if you do /about at the top of this. So let's set up let's set up some routes. So the first thing I think we should do is import in React router. So to do that, what we need to do is we're going to first import in a route. We'll do it from React router DOM. We'll need to import this package. The module name, first we want to do is called router. Well, we'll call it browser router, but we're going to call it router. And this is what we're going to use in kind of surround everything inside our app. And that way it will, we can put routes within inside of it. Just put it at the top here. And then I'm going to move all this code. Oops, there we go. So now we have this in here. All right, so we have this router now. And now we need to actually put in different routes. And to do that, we use this big switch statement, or switch, I should say. So we'll add in switch here. We'll add in switch. And I'm going to put it right here. And then inside the switch, we can have different routes inside of here. And we'll need one more called route. And so the route goes like this. We'll put route and then path and then where we want to go. So the easiest one we want to do is just /about. And then we can have our about route, which we can just do like this. Now we have to import in the about from .about. And if we did it right, so now we should have a route. So we'll obviously need to restart the server. So we'll do npm start. So refresh it. We don't have any errors. But now if we go to the /about route, cool, we see a hello world there. So if we look at about right here, we can do hello from about. And now if we look at it, hello from about. Sweet. So now we have routes set up inside our app. So we have the first of a few steps we want. But we really want to do is we want to be able to pass in a query, a parameter inside here. So what we can do is after this about, we'll actually put in the param, which would be, I think, yep, slug. We're going to call it slug. And now we should have access to that inside our about component itself. And to get access to it, we can do it a few ways. There is, it's probably the easiest way, is we do use params from React router DOM. And now we should be able to grab those params. So to grab those params, we need to, we'll do const slug equals use params. And if we just return, let's say slug right here, we should see it on the screen. So if we go back to the about route and we put in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, you can see here, hello from about 1, 2, 3. Sweet. So it is working. It did grab it from using the use params. And it's sort of like view in some ways, but we'll get to that later. So now we have the about route. And I think I want to add one more. I'm going to create a new file called home. This will be another component. And this home will be our home component. And this is where we're going to put a lot of information in when we display the different Pokemon that you can use. Okay, so let's see if we can grab information from our Pokemon API and actually do something with it. So to do that, I'm going to use a couple of hooks. I'm going to import in useEffect and useState from React. And now we're going to use some of those things first. So I'm going to create const, and I'm going to create Pokemon, which will be our list of Pokemon. And then we're going to have set Pokemon. And we're going to use the useState for that. And then we're also going to use useEffect. And so useEffect is sort of like a way to have certain things happen when certain things get updated in the DOM. So what we want to happen is as soon as the app loads, that this useEffect gets triggered, and then we can grab information from our Pokemon API. So we're going to do it like this. So now this useEffect, we're going to use a fetch statement, and I'm just going to copy and paste this fetch because I think it'd just be easier for me to explain it after the fact. So here's the fetch right here, and what we're doing is we're grabbing data from this Poke API, and then we're going to, once we get it, we get some JSON data back. We're going to map the results, and we're basically creating a different type of a different type of result that actually has an index in it. And the reason why we want to have this index in it is because if we look back at our app and we look at here, you can see this index right here. This represents the URL that we need to go to grab information. So we have Bulbasaur, but we need to go to 1. So if we store this 1 in this map that we created, it'll be easier later on when we actually start routing to it that we can use it. So that's why we did that here. And then I just wanted to set this don't worry about the CSLint. Then we're just going to set the Pokemon to this new object that we created. And we're also kind of destructuring data so that way we get everything from the count, next, and previous. Now to check to see if this works, I want to try to use the home component that we created right here. So we're going to assume that we actually are getting a result back from this. So I'm going to we're going to destructure it, and we're going to grab some results. And then we can know that we can map through those results using our map here. So I'm not going to do any styling. I'm just going to list them. I'm going to do results. As long as results exist, then we're going to do results.map, and that's going to be a val. And now we're going to just display the results. So we know that it's, well, this should be called maybe Pokemon, but Pokemon.name. So if that all works, then we should show a name, and I'll just wrap this in a div so it's happy. And also we'll need to make sure we have a key, so we can actually do this. We can do map val index, and I'll just have the key here, key equals, and then that'll be the IDX. Otherwise it'll complain about that. So now we should be able to pass in this Pokemon results. And we can do that. So in their app.js file, I'm going to just copy and paste this. We're going to call this home. And this is going to be home. And I want it to actually pass in the results. So I'm going to put the home here. Oops. Home. I'm going to pass in something called Pokemon, which will equal Pokemon.results. So let's see if that works. Oops, we actually got to check to make sure that Pokemon exists before we display this. So we can do something like this. We can do if Pokemon exists, then go ahead and show it. So if we do that, come back over here. Oops, I'll close this. Cool, so now we have our list of Pokemon, and we can see we're definitely talking to the API. But we want to make this look a little nicer. So I'm going to go back to my home.js file, and I'm going to just copy and paste from my other monitor here some styles to make it look a little nicer. So instead of having this div here, I'm just going to put this div right here, and this will not have a closing div. So this does should be div though. And so this div has a class name. It puts a little bit of margin at the top. It has this flex wrap, so it should wrap it. And then for each one of these items in here, in this map, I'm gonna create another div. I'm gonna have a class name, and we'll put margin left 4, text 2XL, text blue 400, and then we'll move this one up inside here. And I think I'm gonna leave this the same. So if I come back here, okay, cool. So now we have actual names here, which is good. But what we want to do is actually have links to these. So instead of having divs, we can import in. Now this is another thing from React DOM, the React Router DOM. So we're going to import link from React Router DOM, and then we can make this actual links instead. And the links will actually have to link to where they should go. So they're going to link to /about, and then remember we have this index that we provided, so now we can use the index here. So that should, yeah, I think that should work. Let's see. So we come here, click on one of these, cool, so it went to about 16. Awesome. Now one thing you notice here is that this is all in the main, so it's being posted on each one, or it's in the main app file. So we can kind of play around with this home. So instead of having it there, I'm going to go back to app.js, and I actually want it inside our routes. So we can do another route here, and we'll put path equals with the default route, and this will actually have the home route here. So it's only if you're on the main route will you have it. And then also, instead of calling this hello world right here, let's make it look a little nicer. Let's see here. I'm going to call it, I'm going to copy and paste a few ways to center this just for the sake of time here. I'm going to put this div right here. I'm going to delete this div, this hello world. And inside here, this is where we're going to put in our link. So I'm going to put link here. I'm going to grab link from, add it in here as well. Now this link should have a 2, and inside here we're going to have a header, and we'll have class name. And once again, this is just simple Tailwind text yellow 700, and we'll call this Pokemon Picker. So let's see what that does. Okay, I'm going to let's say if we click here, it goes back to the root. Now we have our list of Pokemon, and it goes down here. So the next thing is, before we add the input in, let's see if we can just make the about route actually show some interesting information. And I'm going to copy and paste some text just to save us a little time. So I'm going to go to the about, which I created right here. And I really want to do is import in a few extra things. So we're going to use a few hooks. We're going to use a useEffect hook and use state hook. And what we want to do is use, I'm going to copy and paste this. So we're going to use this Pokémon. And we need to essentially, every time we go to this route, we need to go in into that special index that's getting sent over from our use params, and then do a query on that URL to grab the information for that Pokemon. So for the sake of time, I'm going to copy and paste the useEffect. So I'm going to use the same thing we did before. We're going to use the useEffect, and except this time this URL, this API v2 Pokemon, will match this. This is v2 Pokemon, and we'll just pass in the index, that slug, and then we'll set the Pokemon in there, and this should work. And now we need to return some information that's a little bit more useful. So I'm going to just have an opening and closing bracket here, and once again I'm just going to copy and paste this from another monitor, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm having this class name, I have this width 3/2, I'm centering it, I'm calling it purple, and then here I'm doing 2x basically 2XL. So I'm going to have this Pokemon name. And by the way, I have the shadow behind it. So it's a box basically. And then I'm grabbing in the sprites, front and shiny, and displaying it. So if I do that, and once again, I need to just make sure that this exists before I display it. So now I can just copy this stuff, move it in. All right, there it goes. So now it's working again. Here it is. So Charlie, Squirtle, Ratatat, Ratake, cool. So it's all working as we expect it. So now the last thing to do is see if we can do that filter and have an input here at the top. I'm going to go back into my app.js file, and I'm going to add in a new filter. So I think right underneath this link here, we'll have a new div. And we'll have a class name, and we'll use, once again, some Tailwind CSS. We'll make it 100% full. We'll have a flex, and we'll justify center. Okay, then we're going to have an input. Oops, input, type equals text. That makes sense. And we're going to have a few properties of this. First, we're going to have a placeholder. We're going to call it enter. We're going to put in the enter Pokemon here. And then we'll have some classes again. So we'll put in some padding at the top, or margin at the top, padding 2 around, and we'll call it border blue 500. And border, we want to have a little bit of a border thickness to it. So cool. So now we have the enter Pokemon here. Now we need to have actually something that happens when you actually change it. So I want to put an on change event on this. So on change. And then we're going to have an event here, event, and I'm going to put set text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in one more. I forgot to add this in. We have this Pokemon, but I want to put text. I want to save text in here, so we'll have set text, and this text will be we're going to use to have whatever they input into this text box here. So that'll be event.target.value. So now this text should have information in it if we just put in text. Let's see if that works. Okay, so yep, it's working right. So now we know we have that text in there correctly. But what we want to do is every time they type something in, to change the values that's going into this Pokemon results. Now, I did this a couple of ways off camera, and one easy way is just create a function. So we could create a function that triggers on the on change instead of going to set text, and that function could then alter what's inside this Pokemon use state and just set it. But I thought a more fun way to do this, and something that really reminds me of Vue, is to use useMemo, which is a way, sort of like a computer property in Vue.js, where useMemo only gets changed when one of the values inside of it gets changed, and it gets memoized too, so it's perfect for like complex operations. So let's use memo and try this out. So useMemo, and the way useMemo works is it looks a lot like useEffect. So useMemo, and then we have an arrow function, and then we can set inside useMemo what things need to change or update once they get changed. So this will say when Pokemon results gets updated or text, then this should run. And so we can do a few things here. We can do if text.length equals 0, then just we're going to set the filtered. So this is another thing I was thinking of. We're going to use one more state. We're going to call it filtered Pokemon, and set filtered Pokemon. So this is like a filter that we're going to use instead of the Pokemon. So now I can do set filtered Pokemon, and this will we don't even need. We can just do this in one line, I suppose. And then this is going to return the Pokemon.results.filter, and then we're going to just to see if we're gonna see if it includes it in here. .name .includes, and then the text. And then so what that'll do, well, let's do two things here. If I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. We'll put this down here. If its length is 0, we're just going to set the filtered Pokemon to nothing and we'll return. If it's not filtered, basically if there's anything in that box that's the length isn't 0, then we're going to run the set filtered Pokemon and we're going to set this the Pokemon results filter right here. So if we refresh it, we just need to fix one thing here. Oh, right here, we'll just go ahead and make sure that it has something in it. Same thing with this. So it's not empty. And text, we're going to just have empty one in here. Okay, so we got rid of all the errors. Now, if we type something, it's not changing anything, but we can use this set filtered Pokemon instead of this, instead of Pokemon results. So we can change this to filtered Pokemon, and we submit filtered Pokemon, not results, and we type in here. Okay, cool. So now it's working. So here's Bulbasaur. We can go back up here. We can type in another one. Charmander. Cool. One thing we probably want to do is we want this input to only be on the home page. So I can change this input here, and I'm going to move it to this home route. Now if I type in Bulbasaur here, now it's only appearing on the home route. So then I can do rat-tat-tat. There we go. So now we have it. Obviously I need to do a little cleanup of this. All right, so yeah, this is it. So this was a little bit of a pain to put together at first, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely not a React expert, but I think I can understand why people love React and how easy some of this stuff is. So let me know in the comments below what you think. I really appreciate it. Thanks.